All right. I'd like to start out by saying Barakateh Hawa, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rucha Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. The name of this one is Hidden in Plain Sight. Pretty much, this is going to be a lesson. I kind of talked about a little bit of it, I believe, in the lesson I did yesterday. And we're going to deal with this term, hidden in plain sight. And we're going to be dealing with, some legislation, although not all, just a small part of legislation that this country has on the books, dealing with executive orders, that are going to help push the so-called New World Order forward, and this New World Order, which is the new plans for the world of the so-called elite, they plan on controlling everything, everybody, every resource, everything that is known as money or used as money, and they plan on chipping everybody, which is the mark of the beast. What you're looking at before you pretty much is something I found, just called, as you can see, it's hidden in plain sight. And this is what makes the serpent so cunning, that what they do it in plain sight, but the average person doesn't know or doesn't see it because they don't have that eye salve, that the scriptures speak about, to be able to see it. Now, Elder Apostle Gabar years ago did a lesson where he highlighted the reason why a owl can see in the dark is because there's a certain type of oil in their eyes that helps or illuminates in the dark and helps them see in the night. And pretty much this is what they do. They work in the shadows, and they are wise as an owl, because what they're doing is, instead of trying to force people to accept the New World Order, they're pretty much pushing it out there where people are damn near volunteering for it in the decisions that people make that are pretty much coerced, for lack of better words, by the television, different movies, shows, sitcoms, commercials that are pushed out here to make people want to get the latest technology, to make people be tired of war, and of pestilence and things of that nature, to look for a solution that would help push and get rid of all this stuff. And that's called Hegelian dialectics, or power, pressure from above, pressure from below, which usually the solution to every problem would be to give the government total control, which means that the so-called international bankers, which are running things, will get total control. And this is why Maya Angelou Bauer said, "Give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws." Because if you control the money, you pretty much control everything. The golden rule: he that has the gold rules. So let's look into this word, hidden in plain sight, or this phrase, hidden in plain sight. Well, here it says, seemingly hidden, but actually not hidden and easy to find. So hidden in plain sight means that it has a semblance of being hidden, but it's right in your face. It's right there. It's obvious. But being that it's so simple, most people will overlook it and not really understand the meaning behind what they're doing. And that brings to mind this saying, this quote by Marshall McLuhan, if I'm pronouncing his last name right, Marshall McLuhan: "Only puny secrets need protection, Big discoveries are protected by by public incredulity. So when you have a small secret, make sure you hide it and you guard it. You know, make sure you hide it and don't let anybody know about it. Keep it close to the chest. But if you have a big secret, a big discovery, don't worry about protecting it, because it's protected by the incredulity of the people, the unbelief of the people, because it's, to them it seems so ridiculous. It's impossible for this to happen. Just like to them it seems impossible for the government, the United States government, to be plotting on the people to pretty much put them in slavery, to hash this so-called New World Order, to commit such heinous crimes on its own soils as to justify them going to war with different nations to take away their resources, such as 9/11, so on and so forth. So only puny secrets need protection. Big discoveries are protected by public incredulity. And that leads us to the first scripture in 2 Ezra 15:1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, because this is what we're supposed to be doing. And this is what we are doing, is speaking the prophecies of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And the reason why is because the Lord has us out here, has a spirit on us to do it, because he's about to make some major things go down that were written a long time ago. It says, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. And this is why we have to speak as the oracles of the Most High, because this is his program. He has an agenda. So we can't deviate from that agenda. So that's why we bring out the scriptures and give the sense of it through the spirit, through the power of the Ruach HaKodesh, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai B'Shem Ruach HaKodesh, to bring this word out. Because the Lord has a message that he has to speak, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Because the things that we see that are written are faithful and true. These words will happen. The Lord said that his words don't go out void. They accomplish what he sets them out to accomplish. It says, fear not the imagination against thee, because the majority of the world, especially 2/3 of Israel, they're going to have these imaginations to stop and destroy us and cause this thing that we are teaching to stop, just because they think that by not believing it, can stop this, or by bringing false accusations, or by bringing slander, they could stop it. But it's impossible to stop it, because this is of the Most High, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. There was another precept that came to mind. I'm trying to see if I can remember it. So you can't stop it. Okay, that's it. Barakateh Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So let me get this precept real quick, and then let's go back. Okay, Acts 5:38. And now I say unto you, refrain from these men, and let them alone. For if this counsel or this work be of men, it will come to naught, meaning it will come to nothing. So if this was our own plans, it will come to nothing. And Gamaliel gave different accounts or examples of men that had their own plan, that were set up, had followers, but those plans were thwarted because they were not the plans of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. But if it be of the Most High, you cannot overthrow it. So if this work that we're doing be of the Most High, you cannot overthrow it. And this is why this is growing the way that it's growing, because we're at the very end. You've had your Christianity, your terroristic Christianity. You've had your Islam and your different philosophies and your different, religions, ideologies that have come up, to say they are truth. But at the very end, you will have the truth coming out, which is this. And this is the least likely place or the least likely truth that the world will accept, because to them it's ridiculous. All right, it says, but if it be of the Most High, you cannot overthrow, at least happily you be found even to fight against the Most High. So seeing that to them we look ridiculous, they won't accept the message, they won't believe the message, and they think that by them not believing the message is going to stop the plans of the Most High. But they're bugged out. Romans 3:3, for what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of the Most High without effect? The Most High forbid. So this unbelief of theirs is not going to make the Most High's word without effect. So we're not to let their unbelief stir us away. We're not supposed to let their unbelief sway us. We're not supposed to let their unbelief put us in a different frame of mind, because we already have the plans, we already have the goal, we already have the agenda of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, the message. And all we are to do is to speak the message until the one that gave the message, which is Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, acts upon his word. It says the Most High forbid. So no, the unbelief of the people out here, especially 2/3 of Israel, is not going to stop the plans of the Most High. It's going to move it forward. And what you see going on with the microchip, which is the mark of the beast, and the legislation and everything that you see going on, and the plans of the illuminated ones, there's a plan for this new world order agenda. These are all the plans of the Lord. And they don't understand that. It says, the Most High forbid, yet let the Most High be true. Why? Because the words of the Lord are going to stand in the long run, because his words are faithful and true. It says, but every man a liar. So the Most High's power is where? Is his word. You know, he has more than that, but the main power is his word. And every other man that has their own philosophies and their doctrines and their religions, let them be liars, because that's according to what they been taught, or what they perceive, not what's given from Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. It says, as it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged. And this is how we overcome, in our sayings and when we are judged, because we are telling the people what's written in the book through the inspiration of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai B'Shem Rchakodash. That's why Yahushai said, don't take no thought what you shall speak, for it shall be given to you in that hour what you shall speak. For it is not you that speaketh, but the Spirit of your Father that speaketh in you. Because at the end of the day, this is the Most High's message, Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. This is not our message. This is the Lord's message, which we're on board with, because the Lord gave us the ability to understand and believe it and be on board with it. So now let's go back. Oh, matter of fact, no, let's move forward. This is a page called the Executive Order, which I didn't put this in the description box, Salakia, because I had to find it. But what I will do is I will put it in the comments section right now, so brothers can save it, go over it when they get a chance, read it, you know, do lessons on it if they like. I'm not going to read the first part, which is dealing with the Constitution. I'm not going to read the second part, which is dealing with the Bill of Rights. And I'm not really going to deal with the executive orders in time of war, which the executive orders, which we're dealing with, are enacted through the executive branch of government, which is the presidential branch of government. And they have this power of the executive orders in time of these different so-called national crisis or national emergency, to enact these things, as it's going to say later on, by a stroke of a pen. All right, so we're going to jump and skip all of this and come down here to the new dangers. All right, the new dangers is a presidential executive order, whether constitutional or not, becomes law simply by its publication in the Federal Registry. Congress, and these, what we're about to read, these are part of the executive orders that are already in the Federal Registry, which means that they are law but they can't be enacted until the president says, you know what, this is a state of emergency or a national emergency, and with this, my signature, we're going to make these executive orders law. In other words, or enact them or put them into effect. Congress is bypassed, which you see Donald Trump doing that all the time. It says here are just a few executive orders that would suspend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. These executive orders have been on record for nearly 30 years and could be enacted by the stroke of a presidential pen. All right? Now let's get into them. Executive Order 10990 allows the government to take over all modes of transportation and control of highways and seaports. And those highways and seaports were pretty much set up for policing through what's known as martial law. That's why the highways are as wide as they are, so that tanks can go down them. In certain areas you could even land planes, helicopters. And you see these movies where they have emergencies. What do? They shut down the cities, and the military takes over and polices those different cities that won't allow people out or people in. Executive Order 10995 allows the government to seize and control the communications media, all form of media. The internet, the Google, whatever you have, whatever form of mode of communications that they have that are out there, they'll take control over all that, because they'll be in contact with each other, for lack of better words. Executive Order 10997 allows the government to take over all electrical power, gas, petroleum, fuels, and minerals. So they can control all of this. Not only the highways, but the gas that is put into these different cars, to get around. Communication. Executive Order 10998 allows the government to take over all food resources and farms, because they will control everything. This is why when you see these emergencies, you'll have the military, right? In these different movies, you'll have the military ration out food, ration out water, ration out medicine. See? It's total control. Executive Order 11000 allows the government to mobilize civilians into work brigades under government supervision. What is this? Slavery. And this is what they plan. This is what the whole New World Order is about. Watch all them different movies on the so-called New World Order, and don't be swayed by these unbelievers, the incredulous that say, oh, those are just movies. You guys always talk about movies. Movies is the way that the international bankers show the world what they plan on doing in the future. And you check out all these different movies that have come out in the past, and you check out the world today, and a lot of those movies, they have predicted what is going to happen in the future, because they have those plans. Bottom line. And if you're so foolish as to just disregard it, then the Lord ain't dealing with you. So this is slavery. When you watch those different futuristic movies, what happens? People are what? Under a spell. The spell of the government. The movie Equilibrium. 1984. And especially Equilibrium, because in Equilibrium, what were they doing? They were actually injecting themselves with drugs that caused them to be totally obedient to the government. No questions asked. So the next one is Executive Order 11001 allows the government to take over all health, education, and welfare functions. Executive Order 11002 designates the Postmaster General to operate a national registration of all persons. Because all people, during this, the ones that haven't got chipped already, during this time of this national crisis or national emergency, they plan on chipping people. And the chips could be given out just like the numbers were given out, through when you go to work. They used to have those time clocks where you were punching a time card, and they knew if you was at work or not. Well, and they could do this by what's the word I'm looking for? By region. All right, because America is chopped up into 10 different regions, which goes back to FEMA. So those 10 different regions, will be designations, because within all the United States, you have different buildings, you have different places, you have different detention centers where people will be taken to, and your chip could be designated for that region only, to where you would only be able to deal in that region alone. Executive Order 11003 allows the government to take over all airports and aircraft, including commercial aircraft, all modes of transportation. Executive Order 11004 allows the Housing and Finance Authority to relocate communities, build new housing with public funds, designate areas to be abandoned, and establish new locations for populations. So they got this thing all so-called figured out, but they didn't figure on the Most High. Executive Order 11005 allows the government to take over railroads, inland waterways, and public storage facilities. Executive Order 11051 specifies the responsibility of the Office of Emergency Planning and gives authorization to put all executive orders into effect in times of increased international tensions and economic or financial crisis. And these are some of the most crucial for their plans, because you have no money, meaning you can't eat, and if you can't eat, most people lose it when they can't eat. And also international tension, which will cause panic, because when people can't get food for their family, or funds for their family, or shelter for their family, they start to panic. And like Gerald Celente always says, when people have nothing else to lose, they lose it. Executive Order 11310 grants authority to the Department of Justice to enforce the plans set out in executive orders, to institute industrial support, to establish judicial and legislative liaison, to control all aliens, to operate penal and correctional institutions, and to advise and assist the president. And pretty much this is why these different troops are set up, FEMA troops and so on and so forth. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the assistance in these executive orders and the control of the population for the president and the government, which really, when you get technical, is really the plans of the international bankers, which will be this so-called New World Order. And before we read any more, I'm gonna read a little more. Let's go real quick to Job to show you that they're insane. And the funny thing about it is that these things are written in the scriptures, but it still goes past them because of that pride in their heart. They think that they're the Most High. Job 5:12. He disappointed the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. And when you look on the back of a dollar bill, it has Latin writing in it, and it's pretty much saying, in a layman's term, announcing the birth of the New World Order in so many words, or their enterprise has been crowned with success. And what was that enterprise? The New World Order. So the Lord said he disappointed the devices of the crafty, so that their hands cannot perform their enterprise. Because at the end of the day, they're only going to get so far. Now, they will establish certain things, but they will not establish their big goal, which is to put the whole world in captivity. Because the Lord is going to put a monkey wrench, or throw a monkey wrench in their plans. He taketh the wise in their own craftiness, because this same technology and same energy that they're using to wickedly to enslave the whole world is going to turn back and bite them in the ass. It's going to backfire. And the counsel of the forward is carried headlong. They meet with darkness in the daytime and grope in noonday as in the night. And they've been hard at work at this for eons. For they've been at it for a while. You know, and everything is being perfected now. You know, but he saveth the poor from the sword, because you have an elect that will be protected from the hands of Esau, from the hands of this so-called New World Order. And this is what they're not counting on. And this is why, through that deception that they were given, they're going to deceive the whole world into receiving this mark of the beast. Some of them will be made mandatory, but the biggest power that these devils have is the power of deception. So where they will get people to take that mark of the beast pretty much voluntarily. But the ones the resistors, that's the ones that they're going to have problems with. Those are the ones that they're going to have to get forceful with. You know? It says, for their mouth and from the hand, see, from their mouth, meaning what? Their plans. And from the hand of the mighty, which is who? Esau, Edom. That's what the scriptures say. Who will lead me into the strong city? Who will lead me into Edom? Because there's no way that we have the capability to defend ourselves against this onslaught that's coming, if it be not for Yahweh Bashem Yahushai to be on our side and to bring forth divine intervention to protect us from these demonic people. I'm trying to get this precept, but as you can see, the internet is acting up. So let me see if I can get it here. See if this way will go quicker. Only thing with this, okay, now we could do it. We could do it. All right, Isaiah 59:19. So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, which is what? These different troops. The Spirit of the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, shall lift up a standard against him. So the Lord is going to cause something to happen to where it's going to put a monkey wrench in Esau's plans. Just like when we were delivered out of Egypt, that big chariot got in between the camp of Israel and the army of the Egyptians to slow the Egyptians down until Israel got across, you know, that gulf safely. Then the Lord withdrew and allowed the walls to come crashing down upon the Egyptian army. So the Lord is going to cause something to back Esau off of the elect. How about that? So now, going back to the article, it says, without congressional approval, the president now has the power to transfer whole populations to any part of the country, the power to suspend the press, and to force a national registration of all persons. Pretty much what? New World Order. 1984, movie Equilibrium, and others. The president, in essence, has the dictatorial power never provided to him under the Constitution. The president has the power to suspend the Constitution and the Bill of Rights in a real or perceived emergency. Unlike Lincoln and Roosevelt, these powers are not derived from a wartime need, but from any crisis, domestic or foreign. And that's why they're pushing so much on this domestic terrorism. From them apologetic terrorists, Vocab Malone the terrorist, David Woods the terrorist, Dr. James White the terrorist, and those other apologetic terrorists that are trying to make us look like terrorists. You see? They're the ones that's doing this, because as long as they can put that term terrorist on the citizens of America, they can use that as part of their emergency. It says, hostile or economic, Roosevelt created extraordinary measures during the Great Depression, but any president faced with a similar or lesser economic crisis now has extraordinary powers to assume dictatorial status. Many of the executive orders cited here have been on the books for over a quarter of a century, 30 years, and have not been applied. See, because they have a bigger plan for them, a bigger picture. Therefore, what makes them more dangerous today than yesteryear, there has been a steady, consistent series of new executive orders originating from President Richard Nixon and added to by President Ronald Reagan, Jimmy Carter, and George Bush that provide as an ominous Orwellian portrait, the portrait of George Orwell's 1984. See, and this is why even when they were passing the Federal Reserve Act, it didn't pass because they knew it was trying to be passed by big government or by big business for the government. So what Warburg did was he put certain provisions in there to where the people could be comfortable with it, and the guys that were with him said, "Nah, we don't want to put that in there. We know about." Look, he said, "Look, don't worry about it. Our job is to get it passed. Once it's passed, then we can go and tweak it." And that's pretty much what they were doing. So that's why Warburg was pretty much the brains behind the Federal Reserve Act, because he put certain things in there that eventually they took out because they just wanted it passed. And once it was passed, boom, Anyway, the erosion of individual rights, a series of executive orders, internal governmental, departmental laws unpassed by Congress, the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1988, and the Violent Crime Control Act of 1991 has whittled down constitutional law substantially. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to jump down to a few more of these, and then we're going to get to some precepts. The crisis that changed the direction of governmental thinking was the anti-Vietnam protests. Fear that such demonstrations might explode into civil unrest. Executive orders began to be created to allow extreme measures to be implemented to curtail the demonstrations. And that's what they're using today, for us going out there teaching. So you see how everything has a cause and effect. People are saying, yeah, get these guys, but in the long run, those same laws that are passed to get those individuals you don't like are going to be used against you, dummy. The recent Los Angeles riots after the Rodney King jury verdict only reinforced the government's concern about potential civil unrest and the need to have an executive mechanism to curtail such demonstrations. Here are the later executive orders. Executive Order 11049 assigns emergency preparedness function to federal departments and agencies, consolidating 21 operative executive orders issued over a 15-year period. Executive Order 11921 allows the Federal Emergency Preparedness Agency, which is FEMA, to develop plans to establish control over the mechanism of production and distribution of energy, sources, wages, salaries, credit, and the flow of money in the U.S. financial institution in any undefined national emergency. So pretty much all of these other executive orders were transferred to the power of FEMA. How special is that? Inside joke. It also provides that when a state of emergency is declared by the president, Congress cannot review the action for 6 months and it also says, or the duration of that emergency. So now you're starting to understand, just on this aspect alone, of the time of Jacob's trouble. Let's get that real quick, and then we'll come back and finish those two and get some more precepts. Now you understand why it's going to be so devastating. All right, and let me get this other precept since it came to mind. These are scriptures we always go to, but the scriptures are not going to change. The information will come out. There'll be different, information and different flow of information, different legislation. But as far as the truth is concerned, it doesn't change. It's the same message. And that's why when you read the book of Revelation, the same message is repeated, just with different allegories, different symbolisms. All right, so this is Jeremiah 30:7. Alas, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. Because it's going to be really bad. By the time Yahushua gets here with the angels, we're going to need some serious deliverance. Because it's going to really get bad. So it says, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. Why? Because it's going to go into... You could use a woman that's pregnant and that is overdue, and all she has is nothing but pain from that child, that unborn child, and all she wants is for the child to be delivered so that she can get rid of those pains. And that's where we're at right now. We're in the contraction stage, contraction stages, which are getting worse and worse as the deliverance gets closer and closer. You know, and this is why, you know, it's so important to let Jake know what's coming. And if they don't listen, hey, that's on them. If they listen and get involved, if they're part of the elect, the Lord will deliver them. And it's just that simple. From these pains that are coming, Daniel 12:1. And at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince which standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble. See, it keeps on speaking about trouble. And you'll find this word trouble in a lot of different scriptures. Jacob's trouble, time of trouble, in the Apocrypha, different places. This trouble that's coming is going to be like nothing else ever. And there had been many times when Jake has been in trouble, but not like this. Because this is the last time. You see? It says, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered. Everyone that shall be found written in the book, meaning the elect. So this is when Yahushua, Michael, the angels come. So it's gonna be vicious out here. So let's go back. Executive Order 12148 created the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, that is to interface with the Department of Defense, the DOD, for civil defense planning and funding. An emergency czar, which is a leader, ruler, Caesar, was appointed. FEMA has only spent about 6% of its budget on national emergencies because it's not about national emergency for the people. It's about a national emergency to enact these laws in these executive orders to bring in or usher in the New World Order. The bulk of their funding has been used for the construction of secret underground facilities to assure continuity of government in case of a major emergency, foreign or domestic. And you're starting to understand and see the bigger picture of why they keep using domestic terrorism, insurgency, you know, in different terms like that. Getting the American public used to hearing these terms and these terms being applied to so-called U.S. citizens because they plan on using it on the citizens. See? Especially the Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Executive Order 12656 appointed the National Security Council as the principal body that should consider emergency powers. This allows the government to increase domestic intelligence and surveillance of U.S. citizens and would restrict the freedom of movement within the United States. And that's what it's about. People talking about you're free. You're only as free as the government allows you to be free. And they plan on getting busy, man. You know? I'm going to read this precept that the elder, up-and-coming elder Manat Zagba put. Jeremiah 6:10. To whom shall I speak and give warning, that they may hear? Beautiful. Behold, their ear is uncircumcised. Yep, and that's a lot of Israelites. Their ears are uncircumcised, and they cannot hearken. Behold, the word of the Lord is unto them a reproach, meaning that to them it's like shameful. They have no delight in it. See, they don't have delight in the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Therefore, I am full of the fury of the Lord, meaning this was Jeremiah speaking. And that's how we are. We're full of the fury of the Lord because here it is, we're giving them warning, but they're not listening. I am weary with holding in. I will pour it out upon the children abroad and upon the assembly of young men together, because once we speak the word, it's out there in the elements. Now the Lord acts on his word, because he said his words don't go out void. For even the husband with the wife shall be taken, the age with him that is full of days. So there's not going to be any one that's going to be exempt from this. Doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter how young you are. If you're an infant, tough. It's going to be rough. And their houses shall be turned unto others, because a part of these executive orders is to take over all, houses and everything, which they will be able to house these foreign troops in your own shit. Take your farm, eat your food, and fuck you up. It says, and their houses shall be turned unto others with their fields. See, the fields, which is what? The farms, we just read. It's beautiful scripture. And wives together. For I will stretch out my hand upon the inhabitants of the land, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, for whom the least of them, even unto the greatest of them, every one is given to covetousness, and from the prophet even unto the priest, every one dealeth falsely. And that's where the Most High is going to open up on you. The brother Ahmad Gabar, Ezekiel 33:6. But if the watchman see the sword come and blow not the trumpet, beautiful, and the people be not warned, if the sword come and take any person from among them, he is taken away in his own iniquity, but his blood will I require at the watchman's hands. Why? Because they don't warn the people. They're talking about, too busy talking about we getting black people off of drugs and this, that. Yeah, but you got to warn them what's coming. You got to warn them of what's coming, because at the end of the day, we ain't doing shit. The people that's coming into this thing, guess what? They're being drawn by the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. If you're not being drawn by the word, if you've been drawn by the gimmicks, if you're being drawn by the goodies, if you're being drawn because of the cookouts and the contracts, the music contracts you can get and all that, then you're coming into this thing for the wrong reasons. Which means you don't know what the hell is going on, because you're not being told or taught the right thing. Serious times are coming. Let's go real quick to Ephesians. All right, 2 precepts came to mind. Ephesians chapter 5. Come on. And 2 Timothy chapter 3. Come on, let's go. All right, beautiful. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 14. Wherefore he saith, awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, you dry bones, and Yahushua shall give thee light. Because this world is dark. We need that torch, the torch of truth, to guide us through this dark maze. See then that you walk circumspectly, meaning walking around, seeing what's going on, measuring the time, knowing what times we're living in. Not as fools, but as wise, because we've been given the tools of the scriptures to make us wise, so that we can better be guided by the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rekha Kodash. Redeeming the time, buying back the time. Why? Because we know what times we're living in. We're measuring the times, we're watching, we're seeing what's going on, because the days are evil. And these days that are coming are going to be very evil. Evil, Ev, which is age or time, and ill is bad. So a bad time or a sick time is coming. A very bad time is coming. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. And how can we know what the will of the Lord is if we're not being told by the watchman of this will? Let's go real quick, and I want to hold on to that. Let me get another. I hope this. You know what? Scratch that. Let me go here. Let's go real quick to Ezekiel. I'm gonna use this because this seems to be running a little faster. That blue letter tripping. Very trippy right now. Ezekiel 3. and 17. Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore hear the word at my mouth and give them warning from me. But if you're not being given warning by the watchman, how will you know not to be unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is? Because you have need of the teachers. And be not drunk with wine wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit, speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your hearts to the Lord. Why? Because the times that are coming are going to be rough, and knowledge and wisdom shall be the stability of our times. Not shelters, and because we stacking food, rice and dry beans and all of that. You know, that's the mentality you have when you first come into the truth, when you don't know any better. But after a while, the Spirit kicks in. You know what the Lord said? He's going to take care of us, man. He said, my servant shall eat. My servant shall rejoice. My servant shall drink. Giving thanks always for all things unto the Most High and the Father in the name of our Lord Yahushua. All right, now let's go to the next precept, which is 2 Timothy 3. Come on, man. Second Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. This know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. And that's what we're coming up to, these perilous times. That's what we're reading here in the executive orders. It says U.S. citizens that would restrict the freedom of movement within the United States and granted the government the right to isolate large groups of civilians. The National Guard could be federalized to seal all borders, see, and take control of U.S. The National Guard, which is what? The military, which leads to what? Martial law, where the military takes over the government, so to speak, which is really under the order of the international bankers. The National Guard could be federalized to seal all borders and take control of U.S. airspace and all ports of entry. Many of the figures in the Iran-Contra scandal were part of this emergency contingent, including the Marine Colonel Oliver North. And this is what he was doing. And the one guy that was trying to question him about that, you know, they shut him down. All right, it says the Federal Emergency Management Agency has broad powers in every aspect of the nation. General Frank Salcido, chief of FEMA Civil Security Division, stated in 1983 in the 1983 conference that he saw FEMA's role as a new frontier in the protection of individual and governmental leaders from assassination and of civil and military installations from sabotage and or attack, as well as prevention of dissident groups. So you notice the word dissident, they keep using that on Jake in America, and people in general, so-called U.S. citizens, from gaining access to U.S. opinion or global audience in times of crisis. So this is why they want to control all modes of communication, so that they could stop who they consider dissident groups to gain access to the U.S. opinion. Meaning, when we're out here in the streets and we stream, you know, on YouTube and these different social media avenues, from getting this word out there. Because most people don't watch television like that. They don't watch the news like that. You still have people that watch regular news, but most people get their news from alternative sources, such as the internet. And a lot of people get information, Jake and Esau included, from videos like these. When we go out there on the streets, when we do different videos, people are watching. They'll talk shit, but they're watching and getting information. You best believe that they're getting that information. So that's pretty much it. You brothers could read the rest of this. You know, let's get some more of these precepts. Isaiah 10:1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievances which they have prescribed. And that's what they're doing. They have these laws that are in effect, laying dormant, pretty much hiding in plain sight. As we read earlier, hiding in plain sight says seemingly hidden, but actually not hidden and easy to find. You know, and it's right there in plain sight, and all they're waiting for is to create the right crisis to be able to fully enact them, to push in what they consider this new world order. It says, that's right, that's a good scripture, GMS San Diego. Ezekiel 30, I'm sorry, Sirach 36:15. Give testimony unto those that thou hast possessed from the beginning, and raise up prophets that have been in thy name, because the prophets are going to give the sense of the scriptures. Brother Yawachanan, Job 5:19, he shall deliver thee in 6 troubles, yea, in 7 there shall no evil touch thee. Yeah, because what Esau's doing, he's spiraling out of control, and it's going to cause the Most High to bring his end. So we're in the end of the 6 troubles, about to go into the 7th trouble. And once the 7th trouble comes, which is the 7th angel, the 7th trumpet, you know, the 7th vial, once that opens up, that's going to be the destruction. So we're going to be delivered in between the very end of the 6th and the beginning of the 7th. Because once the 7th blows, that's it, it's over. And we're at that mark right now, pretty much. All right, so it says to turn it. The reason why it says woe unto them, destruction unto them that are passing all these unrighteous laws and decrees, to turn aside the needy from judgment, because what's coming, the new so-called new world order, has nothing good to offer to the Israelites, the prophets, the teachers, you know, the rest of the men of the Lord. It has nothing good to offer. It's all about the benefit of the international bankers. And this is why the Georgia Guidestones, they plan on eliminating a big portion of the population of the world. And I don't need to tell you who the main people they want to get rid of are. Because you have this one guy, I think his name was Swerdlow. He was breaking down how people that have blonde hair and blue eyes, they're more easy to control than people that have darker, so-called the Jake, that are harder to control than Edomites. And then when you watch these different futuristic movies, there's barely any Jake men. You have Jake women. You have Edomites, you have Elamites, you have Moabites, you have Hamites, you have different nations, and there's very rarely you'll see a Jake man. Because they plan on phasing out a good portion. It's going to be over 6.5 billion people that they plan on exterminating, to so-called be able to keep tabs on the rest of the people. And that's why these microchips are so important to them, because that's total control of your body and soul. All right, little inside joke. It said, and to take away the right from the poor of my people. See, and this is mainly what is against the poor of the people of the Lord, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. Because at the end of it all, they have this total control, and they're using this total control wickedly. Let's go to Micah. Couldn't think of the book for a moment there. Micah 2:1. Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it, because it is in the power of their hand. See? So they have this power. They practice it because it's in the power of their hand. And they use this power wrongly. It says, and they covered fields, and they say they will take farms and all that, people's houses, and take them by violence. Because once the government says that's the enemy, they're going up in there violently. They ain't coming in there, excuse me, we have a warrant for you guys, you got to get out of here, blah, 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 this, that, the other. They coming in there kicking down doors, blowing dogs away, blowing people away if they resist. It's violent, man. That's what the scriptures say. They shall be like madmen, sparing none. All right. It says, and they covered fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. So pretty much they're not going to spare no motherfucking body. They ain't going to show no motherfucking mercy. Excuse my Sanskrit. Let's get this real quick and then we'll read. And matter of fact, before I read this, let's go to Psalm 64:1. To the chief musician, a psalm of David. Hear my voice, O Most High, in my prayer. Preserve my life from fear of the enemy. Because this is going to be vicious, man. This is going to be some vicious times. Hide me from the secret counsel of the wicked. And this is what we're witnessing. We're witnessing the secret counsel of the wicked, because the Lord is causing them, their own, to bring out this information. Because some of these people that are bringing out this information were people that were a part of this organization. And they broke away. Why? Because the Spirit of the Lord made them break away to get this information out here for us. From the insurrection of the workers of iniquity. And this insurrection is coming against who? Those that fear the Lord, which are the Israelites, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. And this is the main people. Anyone else that goes against them, of course, they're going to put down. But the main ones that's the problem is us. Who whet their tongue with like a sword and bend their bows to shoot their arrows, even bitter words. And these things that you see written are bitter words. Because they can't wait to enact these things. It says that they may shoot in secret at the perfect. Who are the perfect? The Israelites. The other nations are not perfect. We're the perfect ones. Suddenly do they shoot at him and fear not, because they don't fear the repercussions from the Lord. They don't fear retaliation from the Lord. They don't fear that divine intervention that the Lord is going to bring against these devils when they come against the true men of the Lord, Yahweh Bashem El Shai. Brothers that's out there, teaching His word in sincerity and truth. It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter, because this new world agenda is an evil matter. And that's what the Lord said He's gonna mess up their plans, so to speak. It says they encourage themselves in an evil matter. They commune of laying snares privily, because what they're doing is they're doing it in secret. But now it's coming out to the forefront. They say, who shall see them? Because they're thinking, because they're doing it in secret, that the Most High don't see them. They're that demented. They search out iniquities. They accomplish a diligent search, because they have think tanks. They do research. Then they practice it, because it's in the power of their hand. They'll cause a little something to go on here, and a little something in this country, a little something in that country, to see what the reaction of the people are going to be. So they accomplish a diligent search. Not only do they think it, they actually put it into play to see how it's going to go. For both the inward thought of every one of them and the heart is deep, but with their mouth they speak sweetly. It says, but the Most High shall shoot at them with an arrow. Suddenly shall they be wounded. Why? Because their new world order agenda is going to be destroyed. They're not going to be able to accomplish it fully. And the beginning stages of that is what? To reveal these things, which from within, they revealed it. Then through the words of Yahweh Bashem El Shai, the prophets came out here through the words of Yahweh Bashem El Shai and revealed the wicked. And also used some of this information against them. It says, so they shall make their own tongue to fall upon themselves. That's the ones that used to be a part of it that broke away. All that see them shall flee away. Why? Because they're going to see their plans. They're going to be like, oh shit. And they're going to get out of harm's way. It says, and all men shall fear and shall declare the work of the Most High, for they shall wisely consider of His doing. And that's dealing with the elect. The righteous shall be glad in the Lord and shall trust in Him. And all the upright in heart shall glory. Why? Because they are a part of the elect. and they will be delivered. All right, so let's go to this precept, hit a couple of verses, and we can close it out there. 2 Ezra 16:67. Behold, the Most High himself is a judge. Fear him. Leave off from your sins and forget your iniquities, to meddle no more with them forever. That's why Yahushua told them, wicked Pharisees and them that didn't believe in him, you shall die in your sins. Because if your sins are not forgiven, then there's no protection. That's why King David said, blessed is the man upon whom the Lord imputeth not iniquity, and in whose spirit is no guile. So shall the Most High lead you forth and deliver you from all trouble. There goes that word trouble again. For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you. That's these different military type groups that Esau has set up for the purpose of martial law, for the implementation of this so-called New World Order. And they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle. When you're idle means you can't move. That's these different concentration